It's a lot for us to break down. I want to bring in NewsNation contributor Lindsey Granger on this as we talk more about this situation. Welcome, Lindsey. It's always good to see you. What about the jobs that might be there for some of these people that Mills is talking to? We don't know exactly the nature of this deal the president's going to announce in Pennsylvania today. He's trying to save or bring back some of these jobs. Whether he'll be able to do it, I guess, is another story. What's your view?
I mean, there are murky details, and that's been part of the problem, especially with all the backlash from the steel union that called this, saying that Japan and Nippon has a track record of violating U.S. laws. So I know that President Trump has said he came to this conclusion by having many conversations with key people to try to protect American workers and bring back jobs. But we also have to remember why unions are even here in the first place, to try to create a bridge to protect Americans, the same ones that are hurting by the many things that Trump is dealing with, like the economy, tariffs, and a bunch of other issues that are already on the table. So it may be another blow or a really amazing thing, but we have to see how it all pans out and really know exactly what is all agreed upon in this quote unquote partnership.
Well, one thing, just as a kind of a side note, I suppose I would point out, it's interesting. U.S. Steel trades publicly in the stock market. The ticker symbol, funny enough, is X for U.S. Steel. It's been trading throughout the day. Usually you get a big deal announced, they would halt the stock, which hasn't happened. I thought that was interesting. So what does that tell us about the deal? I don't know. Here's what Trump said about it on social media. This will be a planned partnership between United States Steel and Nippon Steel, which will create at least 70,000 jobs. That's what he's saying, and add $14 billion to the U.S. economy. So what would you say about those numbers? And again, the reason the stock might be halted may have to do with something on timing. Maybe he's not going to make it official today. Maybe they're just going to say they're making progress. I don't know. But what would you say about those numbers?
Jobs numbers are always good, and boosting the economy is always great. So it just is about the follow through. I know there's a concept called the golden share, which gives the U.S. government the power to veto over certain decisions and potentially safeguard us when working with a major company like Nippon to own a company as big as a dent that the U.S. Steel has made. And so I think that we have to remember what the entire picture looks like, because a lot of times there are claims by presidents on both sides about how much what a policy that they choose to do or a partnership that they choose to do or a deal will affect Americans. But really, time will tell. Time will be the real answer to the question. But of course, right away, when you announce good news, the markets react. So I'm not surprised.
All right. So here's the thing. The president's supposed to leave this hour. We just saw him. He was in the Oval Office for a long time with Elon Musk, and go to Pennsylvania. Once that event starts, we think about 5 p.m. Eastern, we're going to carry it live. Now, speaking of Musk, let me transition to that for a moment and get your view on what we saw, not just today, but now in this tenure in government, I guess, for this former government worker, Elon Musk. On the tablet, let's bring it up. Impact by the numbers for Elon Musk. And you start to look at where he is. $175 billion estimated DOGE savings, job cuts 58,000. His own favorability rating went down by 14%. And the stock, 28% increase in Tesla stock since Election Day. It's been quite volatile. I would say this, DOGE savings overall, remember the goal was $1 trillion. The claimed savings, as we said, $175 billion. Report card on Elon Musk, what would you say, Lindsey?
Well, I think that's why Elon Musk was very vocal about during his CBS interview about what he feels about this budget bill, because he doesn't want a lot of what his legacy is in the government to be in vain. A lot of those people, I think about people that I've interviewed, like former veterans that were federal employees that got let go because they weren't efficient enough, according to his agency. And so to now know that we're going to add money to our deficit with this budget bill will really bother not only the American people, but also people who invested in the idea of having President Trump involved and then kind of got Elon Musk by default. Now, we know that President Trump and Elon Musk have a good bromance going on. I mean, they have deregulation, free speech, and, you know, they are on the same page when it comes to cultural wars. But financially and fiscal responsibility, we know that that may be a huge disconnect. And while they were sitting together playing nicely and obviously going to still be friends, I think maybe Elon Musk learned his lesson to be involved on a really high level as opposed to a micro level, because dealing with government is totally different than dealing with private business.
Much harder.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.